Computer. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our virtual career fair here at Talent Search. My name is Hayden Smedley, and today I'm very excited to introduce Miss Kayla Patton. She will be sharing insights on what a typical day looks like for her in the field of being a flight nurse. And why they chose this career path, you need to stay tuned for some very valuable information and inspiration today if you are considering a field in nursing. There's going to be a question and answer session at the end of this discussion. So if you have any questions for Ms. Kayla, please feel free to ask them at the end of her presentation. We encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to get a better insight on what she does. And if you are interested in becoming a flight nurse or a nurse in general, she would be the one to talk to. I want to say again, thank you so much, Kayla, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here today at Talent Search. Your willingness to share your information and experiences in this career is greatly appreciated. Again, I'll let you have the floor.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So my name's Kayla. I am 29. I have been a nurse for almost 5 years. I actually graduated from Lewis County High School from that tiny little town of Vanceburg. Um, let's see. I started my nursing career as a nurse just on like a tele floor, a basic floor. Worked that for just a little while, and then I worked ER after that. So the majority of my nursing career has been in the ER. Flight nursing's new. I've only been doing this for a few months, so it's kind of brand new to me, but I'm excited about it and excited to share all of my, you know, my things,
Knowledge.
all my knowledge on how to, I guess, get to this point.
And you have a presentation. Just want to make sure, right? Okay. I thought so, but I wanted to verify that. For anybody who wants to see that, I guess now you can pull it up if you want to. I know you've got to screen share it, so. Insert the Jeopardy theme music.
Okay, let's make this a little bigger. There we go. Does that look okay on your end?
Looks perfect here.
Awesome. Okay, so how to become a flight nurse 101. I'll do a little more of an introduction. So I was actually a member of Talent Search. Summer was my Talent Search instructor for a while. I was involved in that from 6th grade to 12th grade, just to kind of go back a little bit. Talent Search was awesome when I was in school just because I didn't have a lot of people to look up to. I didn't have a lot of resources when I was in school. So Talent Search kind of helped guide the way and helped with just different things on how to get through middle school, how to get through high school, and then eventually we started visiting colleges, and just it allowed for me and the people that were in my class to, kind of consider what the future was going to look like for us and how to get started in doing that. So anyway, I went to MCTC after I graduated high school. I didn't start until about, I want to say, a year or so after I graduated high school. I actually was at MCTC for a while, and I had a lot of kind of missteps. I failed some classes, kind of just got a little bit lost along the way. But I knew that my end goal was nursing. And I think that I've known that I wanted to be a flight nurse since the end of high school, since starting college. So I went to MCTC for several years, finally got accepted into the nursing program at MCTC, and then I graduated during the peak of COVID in 2020 with my associate's degree. So started working in 2020, I think the middle of the year in June. Started at St. Joe, which is just another hospital here in Lexington, and then moved up here and worked at UK for a while after that, after I left St. Joe. Just, I wanted some trauma experience and wanted to see what UK had to offer. And now I work with PHI.
Can you hear me, Kayla? think you are froze. Give her a second to see. Maybe she. Kayla, did it kick me out or did it kick you out?
I don't know. You
Okay.
disappeared for just a second.
Okay. So yeah, it was my end. My apologies, guys. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Oh, let me go back a little bit. Okay. Are we good to carry on?
Yep, I think we're good.
I wrote a lot of stuff, but we don't have to actually go over all of it. Basically, my dream was to become a flight nurse. I knew that it would be a very long journey from start to finish to get there. Uh, but I just have some slides just to kind of go over what I did and the process that I went through and the journey that I went through to get to where I'm at now.
Mhm.
Let's see. So I already said I went to MCTC. I moved to Lexington, started my nursing career, and just kind of set myself up for success as much as I could, so that I was prepared at some point to become a flight nurse. So you'll choose a college, and I'm sure Talent Search is helping everyone do that at this point if you're in high school. I had to choose a college. I chose MCTC because everything was paid for. It was small, it was close to home. So I got my associate's degree and then moved to Lexington. Uh, Took me a little while to get on at UK, but I knew UK was going to be my uh, kind of the path that I needed to take in order to learn the critical care and the trauma care and all of the things that UK has to offer. So yeah, I worked there for a couple of years, and you'll have to have at least 3 years of ER or ICU experience for most flight positions to before you can apply for one of the positions out there. Um, so So you'll find a college, you'll work in some sort of trauma hospital, ICU, something like that, just to get some good baseline knowledge of how to take care of sick patients and trauma patients. And then, so at UK, they offer a lot of, not only do they pay for your bachelor's degree or certain degrees if you work there as a nurse, they also will pay for certifications. So I knew at some point I needed to start looking into uh, different certifications. The more things that you have under your belt, the better it looks when you apply for flight jobs because there's a lot of good nurses and not many flight jobs that are usually available. So I became a certified emergency nurse. I took that test and passed it. UK paid for that. And then shortly after I took that and passed it, I took the trauma certified RN test. There's different things that you can get. I got the NRP, which is neonatal resuscitative process that you have to have when you become a flight nurse. So I did that as well. Let's see. I've been studying the critical care RN. This is just some extra stuff that I did just to kind of stand out from different people that were applying because there's a lot of people that apply. Let's see. And it kind of depends. There's a lot of people that go to the flight world and they only have ER experience, and there's a lot that go and they only have ICU. ER experience will help kind of make things, it'll help you understand things on the EMS side of the world because it'll help you take in patients from EMS. You're stabilizing patients when they first get to the ER or to the hospital, and then the ICU nurses know how to maintain and kind of keep those patients stable until they're ready to go home or ready to go to a different floor. So it just kind of depends on what you like, but you can do either one. If you can do both, that would be awesome, just so you can see both sides of it. But I only ever had ER experience, so work on your bachelor's if you can, if you don't already have it while you're already working, or just as part of the process. And then what I did several ride-alongs about a year ago. Once I knew that I was about to be eligible to be a flight nurse and I'd had almost 3 years in, I started doing ride-alongs. And then you'll work in an ER, ICU, or both. You'll it takes at least a couple of years to really understand the role of an ER ICU nurse. It takes a while for you to be fully comfortable. But at some point you'll be like, okay, if you want to be a flight nurse, then you'll get to a point where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. Sometimes you'll apply for a flight nursing job for a long time. Some people apply for 4 or 5 years before they actually land the job, just because there's so few positions open, and a lot of the time people will stay in their positions for a while, so it doesn't allow for a lot of turnover, open jobs. Um, so I did a lot of research. There's a few flight programs around here in Lexington, where I live. So I just did a lot of research. I decided that PHI was the way to go for me. It's, I looked at the safety and all the different parts of being a flight nurse and all of their, um, just kind of weighed the pros and cons, and just PHI was for me. So I applied once, didn't get it, and then I applied again a few months later and actually got the job. So you'll just have to do some research and try to figure out, ask a lot of questions. If you ever come in contact with flight nurses, just, whatever works for you, then just decide, at some point you'll just have to apply. Let's see. I made a lot of friends as well at UK. There was several nurses that I worked with that were flight nurses, as well as worked in the ER. So I made friends with those people, asked them tons of questions, probably really, really annoyed them with all my questions, but I just wanted to do anything that I could do to, you know, to ready myself for this position. So, let's see. So then once you start applying, or you feel like you're ready to start applying, the interview process for becoming a flight nurse is very, very intimidating. So I did a lot of research on that and prepared myself, just with different, you'll eventually go through ACLS and PALS, and you'll have different classes and stuff that'll prepare you. If you work in an ER ICU, you'll have to have those. So a lot of it's looking at algorithms and just kind of going back to the basics to make sure that you understand the different processes for taking care of different types of patients. I had an ACLS, so just a basic. I think it was a patient that was about to code. I had a child that I had to run a scenario through, a critical care patient, just a really, really sick patient. We had to go through that, and then a trauma scenario. So those are what I had to go through. That was the very first interview that I had to pass in order to go into the second one. You'll have other things that you'll have to have. So ACLS, BLS, PALS, TNCC, different certifications that you'll get along the way that they usually will require you to have in most hospitals. And then as you're, getting into your nursing career, you'll just want to be really proficient at placing IVs, NGs, different things that you'll learn along the way. But you just want to do that stuff as much as possible, get really good at doing patient assessments. That'll help you in the long run. So the process is tough. So once I was offered the job and accepted it, I had to go to Phoenix, and it's kind of a little bit different with different flight companies. But usually it's about a 2-week process. They fly you out to wherever their corporate office is at, and you'll go through a couple of weeks of learning all the HR stuff and the pay, and going through different kind of, the first few days are pretty boring, and there's not a lot to the first few days, but then you'll do a lot of scenarios. We did a lot of scenarios the last week and a half, just to get us prepared for this new flight job, for me and my classmates. So very intimidating and very difficult to go through scenarios where people are watching you and criticizing you. And so if I had to recommend something, is to get used to that, get used to people watching you and having their eyes on you, and just be adaptable, and understand that, stuff like that. People are just trying to help better your care for patients. So embrace the journey. That's a big part of it, because I started college and was very impatient, and I just wanted to be a flight nurse. I want to be a flight nurse now. I want it now. I wish, I just wanted it to all happen with, just like that. But you have to take it day by day and just learn all that you can, absorb all that you can, take to the nurses that have been doing this for a long time, because they will teach you their ways, and, you'll just absorb everything that you can so that you're ready for when you do become a flight nurse. And don't think that it's going to happen overnight. This is a very long process. So I just kind of had to get used to that and understand that it was going to take me a while to get where I wanted to be, but it was well worth it at the end. And enjoy the journey because you know, that's all that you can do. Just take it day by day. These are just some random pictures that I threw in at the end of when I was in Phoenix and we were practicing skills. And there's a lot of things that you can do as a flight nurse that physicians can do in a hospital, which is the cool part about it. You work in a hospital and you have very not little ability to do stuff, but there's a lot of skills that you're not allowed to do. But then you become a flight nurse and you're able to do chest tubes and you can intubate. And there's just so many different things that you can do. And they teach you well when you're in Phoenix. They just go over lots of skills, scenarios, and they prepare you for what's about to happen once you're at the base and you're released and able to fly with your teammates. The left here, it's showing we were practicing how to do a needle decompression. And then the picture of the helicopter, that's actually the helicopter that I fly out of at the base in London. The one on the right, I was learning how to intubate and we were doing a little scenario there. And then the one at the top there, that's just one of the ambulances that they use for scenarios at the Phoenix base when we were over there learning and doing class and all that stuff. And that is about all that I have.
Okay. If there's any questions, so we have someone on. If you have any questions, feel free. At this time, you can ask them. If not, I have a couple I would like to have answered. Um, One of them being is I wanted to know how do you handle high stress situations like in the air, especially with like critically ill patients? Because being in the ER setting, as you mentioned, is already stressful enough. I'm not a nurse or anything, but I mean, I've been to ERs and it's very tense. So I just imagine like air ER. That's probably a horrible way to put that, but that's just
No, I mean, it essentially is. You're doing all the same things that you would do on the ground in an emergency setting, but you're doing it in a very tiny space.
small.
Yeah. Um, a lot of the time when people start out, when I first started, you get stressed and you're like, I don't know what to do. A lot of people that go into ER nursing or flight nursing, we have ADHD, so it's already very overstimulating and you kind of don't know what to focus on, how to prioritize. But the longer that you are in that kind of environment, the more you kind of adapt to ABCs. Like you're going to focus on this, this, and this. And you just kind of build that to where you're more tolerant to all the stress.
Kind of
Um,
like a routine.
yeah,
You
you
say
just get
like,
into a routine.
okay.
Yeah, you fixate on certain things and you make sure they're breathing, you make sure they have a pulse, and then everything after that we can figure that out later. You know, not maybe not later, but you
Figure it
can.
out after that. You have
Right,
important things, right? You have like,
right.
okay,
And
go ahead.
I always took to the nurses that were experienced, my preceptors and stuff like that, because if they're not freaking out or if they're not worried, then I'm not going to be worried. I'm going to follow behind them. And it just takes getting used to. You have to focus and hone in on the things that are very important and then some of the stuff that can wait and kind of block out anything else that's not um,
Yeah.
important.
I think that's a great piece of advice for anyone, just not even if you're going into nursing, it's excellent advice. But even if you're into another field, going on, like you said, you mentioned in your presentation, asking questions to someone like a senior nurse or a senior level doctor, even flight nurse,
Right.
that's kind of, it's good to absorb that information. And they have the years of experience and wisdom so you can learn something. And you said earlier, I liked in your slide, you mentioned be teachable. I think that's also a great thing. Just because just because you get a degree does not mean you know it all, and everyone can always learn. So I thought that was really good as well. What advice would you give to someone who's wanting to pursue a career as a flight nurse or in the nursing field in general? You've done both, so like,
My advice is to do anything that will make you stand out from other people. I never really understood that, but once you start applying, there was 25 people that applied for my position, which is a
oh
lot. So they're
yeah,
comparing you to all these other people and how well you do in the scenarios, how well you interview. So there's just so many different things. But even if you don't do great in your interview or you get nervous or you mess up a little bit along the way, if you have certifications that prove that you're, you know, continuously trying to do better and be better and learn more, then they know that you're adaptable and that you would, do well in a flight nurse position because that's what it's all about, learning and just, getting better every day at what you're doing.
I got you. That was just, I got one more, and I just wanted to know, like, what skills do you think someone wanting to go into nursing, like, if you are a high school, say you're a high school student, and like, you're thinking about going into nursing and thinking about going into something else, what skills do you think are most important for someone to have pursuing a career in nursing or as a flight nurse?
Skills as in what you can do like in an ER, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if that's, I mean, it's just basically like, what skills do you think someone would need to be a good nurse? I would say.
Patient assessments are very difficult when you first start because you have an entire human and you're trying to figure out, what do I look at first? What's most important? How do I start and where does it end? And what do I need to look at? So that's a huge thing when you're in the ER or a flight nurse. You are taking care of the entirety of that human being. So it's very important that you pick up on subtle changes or different things. So even if you have a very stable patient and you get into nursing, you're wherever, just kind of get very proficient at doing assessments. Even if they're super fine, you know that there's not anything else going on, they just hurt their toe. Just do an assessment on even that patient, because the more that you do those, the better you'll be in the long run. It'll help you.
The easier they get.
Yeah, yeah. You'll notice subtle changes here and there, and that'll make a big difference when you're taking care of really sick people. It'll help you intervene before things go bad. So that's a big one. And then IVs are a big one. Placing NGs or OGs, the nasogastric tube or orogastric tube, that's stuff that you can do at the bedside. Just any type of skill that they will let you do in the hospital or whatever position you're in, that'll be big, just to kind of
To
get
kind
used to
of
doing that stuff.
sharpen, I guess they always say sharpen skills. That was, yeah. I believe that's all the questions I have. Um, uh, William, I see that you're on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them at this time.
No, I'm good. I think she did a great job. Appreciate the presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you so much.
Kayla.
Hi, Brian.
Okay. Well, seems like we have one person on. Thank you. Again, I want to say thanks again, Kayla, for taking time out of your day to meet with me. Uh, I know it's probably busy and it's very hectic being a nurse, so I really appreciate it. And I'm sure all the students that'll be wanting to go into nursing are going to find it extremely beneficial because you bring a really, a different spin on nursing. So, again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day and meeting with me.
No problem. If anyone has any questions at any point, I did put my email, I think on the very last slide. So if anyone has questions after this or you run into that issue, then they can always email me or reach out and I'll do my best to answer their questions.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kayla.
Of course. Thank you.
You too. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.